You're listening to
They're gonna call it a hard foul. They're gonna call it a hard foul.
Call it a hard foul. Part of the
Fan First Network, bitch.
yeah.
214.
What does 214 have to do with the Fan First Network?
The bus number for Germantown.
And all our listeners know what that means. That's where we grew up, a part of Quincy that you probably never visit.
And on the weekends, it's a combined bus network that goes to Housneck. At least it was when I was a kid. That would be
Which is another part of Quincy that our listeners don't have any clue about. Housneck.
In Quincy, folks who live in Housneck call it God's country, but really it's just a bunch of roads that they call driveways that they call roads. I mean, it's like awful. I hate Housneck.
All right. Well, getting off track.
Everybody who live there, you suck. G-Town's better. Fuck you. Anyways, I'm in a great mood tonight, Jim. Just giving everybody fair warning, just with everything going on in the world and this wonderful president that we have. I'm ready to do this pod.
Well, I need you. So this is good. So we're going to start right off with the advice. I need you. I need you to fix a pressing problem, the pressing problem in the world and in the NBA, the NBA All-Star Game. You are Adam Silver, and he seemed to be very excited about what was going to happen, and it ended up being a terrible product. What do you do differently to fix that shit show over the weekend?
Now, I'm going to come off and say right away that I disagree with Bill Simmons' solutions. I think they suck.
What are they?
It's the top 5 seeds from each conference are what's representing the game, and the winner gets home court. I think that's dumb because, like, what if Jason Tatum was hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, the advice question wasn't the answer on what Bill Simmons said on his podcast. If I was Adam Silva, I would scold these players, number one, and then I would scold TNT, number 2. Why did we have so many breaks? Why was Kevin Hart not funny? Why
even have him on?
Yeah, it was just awful. Like, it was like too much of like stroking each other, like the TNT crew is like all these long breaks is really bad. And I'd be scolding the players because this could be a great product. The basketball wise of it, the last couple of years, the All-Star game is just not a good product because guys aren't playing hard.
See, I disagree to one extent. I thought the basketball part of it wasn't terrible this time. I actually thought, the semifinal game where the young kids were competitive. Then you started off in the final game. Tatum's team was up big, but then you had this 20-minute break, and the players were like, "Screw it."
Yeah,
if we play hard, we're gonna get hurt. Like,
to be honest, I don't think I've seen Jokic sprint once.
Do you ever see Jokic sprint?
Yes, you do. He plays hard. He does play hard, just not typically on defense, but he does play hard. And like, come on, Steph Curry pulling up for half-court shots.
Well, that was after the stoppage in play, and I felt like they were just like they did this 20-minute, 25, and then went to commercial, intermission of like giving out awards to the TNT crew.
So
when they're going to be on ESPN next year, anyways. It was weird. It was stupid.
My advice would be the product needs to be basketball.
Yes,
the product needs to be basketball, and secondary to that, the players need something to play for. So maybe you're not doing this right now in the middle of February. Maybe they're playing for a lot of money. Maybe it's part of what's happening in Vegas during the in-season tournament. But I think they need to really look at this, and they need to come up with a way that the players are playing really hard. Because if you have this quality of talent playing like it's meaningful, it's going to be a fantastic product. And you're not going to have people leaving the stadium early like they did over the weekend. Only half the stadium was filled when their hometown player got All-Star Game MVP, which, by the way, it should have been Jason Tatum. But that's another, whatever. But yeah, man, I would figure like the product has to be about basketball. It has to be about the game. The game needs to matter. Like fans want to see these guys compete. That's what they want to see. That's what it's all about. So whether it's money or something, just something that would be more meaningful to the players. Like maybe if your team wins, the whole team gets like this 2 week paid vacation over the summer where you get to like travel the world together. Like they have to get really creative.
I just think
Like,
it's
you know what
money.
I
I think
mean?
he nailed it the first time. It's just money. You pay them, $4 million a player or whatever for the winning team. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, the score to 40 was entirely too low of a score, and I was wondering why it was, especially for the final game.
When I saw it, I thought it was going to be ones and twos.
But
I really did. I thought the
yeah,
buckets were going to be ones and twos because it was
but
40. Yeah.
then you realize why it was is because they had all these stupid breaks. They had some guy come out and do like this, like what you would do at the halftime of a Thunder game of like trying to hit a three before Dame Lillard did or something. It was like some weirdo off the street, running the thing.
And
I've never
also,
even
like,
seen him before.
you can't have a starting lineup with like three centers competing against all the best players in the NBA. It was Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns. Like they might as well have Rudy Gobert out there too. Versus Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. Like, who the fuck made these rosters? Like, this is ridiculous.
I think what they put together could have worked if it, like you said, it was about the basketball.
Yeah,
I do think like having the Rising Stars as one of the teams, just expand the roster for the All-Star game if you want to do it that way and have the four teams, have them play to 50 and the final game be to 70 and make
they
it
gotta get
competitive with
creative
a
too.
nice
Like
prize.
the other thing I would do too is like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, SGA. Like that would be a team competing against LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden. Like I would make it generational. Everybody wants it to be like the hockey thing. The country pride means a lot. The basketball thing, it's not there in the NBA. I think if you want these guys to compete and get nasty and get after it, it would be the generational play. Like a good game would have been the Jason Tatum generation against the Kevin Durant generation.
Yeah,
That's something that people like because Jason Tatum sat the bench in the Olympics for Kevin Durant. That
it
was
was kind of like that. It just happened to be Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were on the old guy team.
they're considered old guys
Yeah,
now, which is
yeah. But like however they do the team is fine. It felt like so many extracurricular stuff that was just stupid and like uninteresting and had nothing to do with basketball. I think I read somewhere that David Stern gave Adam Silver advice. If you start to get concerned about where the game is going, go back to the game. And I felt like Adam Silver did the exact opposite. He
opposite.
went away when there was more pomp and circumstance than I've ever seen before at any type of All-Star game at any level. And it just made it stupid. Not that the All-Star
My
game
other
matters that much, but
my other piece
whatever.
of advice is Boston needs an All-Star game.
Yeah.
The city of Boston needs to host the All-Star game. Some of your best basketball fans in the world are here. And I know we're known for as like a baseball town and a hockey town, but we don't get enough credit for how much we are. I mean, we were selling out games for the Isaiah Thomas teams before they were making the playoffs. So, like, this is a basketball town. The Northeast is still a basketball mecca as far as talent comes out of here. So, like, I don't understand why we don't get to host the All-Star game. But this needs to be a host site, and you would have a crowd really into the event. Like you would really have a crowd that loves basketball culture, that loves these players. That, quite honestly, it would be a good back and forth because this is a crowd that would boo some of the All Stars while they're out there playing. Like it would be a really good, like fun, like it would be the full Boston experience.
I hope so. I think it's still
like you can imagine Kyrie Irving playing in an All-Star game and getting booed at the All-Star game. That would happen in Boston.
Yeah, I think you'd still get it. I think you'd still get a corporate crowd here, unfortunately, with the price of tickets and everything else. You'd get some of that, but the
Yeah,
regular Boston fans would be priced out. But it would be cool to see.
I don't
it
know.
on TV.
Our people find a way to get those tickets, whether they're spending money they don't have. They seem to end up in the game.
Any other advice that you would give Adam Silver on how to fix this thing? Or does it even really matter?
Yeah, make it about basketball. Make it about basketball. Make it about the players. Like, you want to add pop and circumstance to it? Have the cameras in the huddles while the coaches are talking to the players. Catch the guys in the locker rooms when they're interacting with each other. Those are the best videos that come out of every All-Star game. Like the best All-Star game video I've ever seen is LeBron James's first All-Star game when Allen Iverson was teasing him. Like these are and Tim Duncan. Like these are the things that people want to access and see. Make it about basketball and access to the athletes on. Like give them time where the commentators aren't speaking and you're getting to hear the players talk trash. Like make it about the game and the culture of the players.
One thing I would add, because if you had like this tournament style, I think I'd put a 4-point line that was available in the last 2 minutes of every period. So if a team is down,
I wouldn't.
Down like 10 or 12 points with 2 minutes to go, like
I
Steph
wouldn't.
Curry.
See,
No,
I
why
wouldn't.
not?
Because then you just have like guys pull up from half court. And
Just the last 2 minutes.
yeah, I don't know. Hey, what we got to try different things. It's either that or get rid of the damn thing. It's either that or get rid of the All-Star game and have All-Star weekend just be a 3-point contest and dunk contest, and that's it. Like, or it's after the season, you treat it like the Pro Bowl. Because if it's going to be this and it's not going to matter, then don't waste people's time.
I think the problem is the league is making money hand over foot, and they think that is the barometer that they have to hit, and that they're succeeding because they're making money. And I think what they're missing is that the product at times sucks for their diehard fans, or the fans that tune in, and you have too many games, too many nights during the season where a team doesn't show up. Hell, we've seen it here in Boston this season, probably for the first time in a while on different nights with that team. And so even with the All-Star game now, that's just a bad product. It's not rewarding your fans. It's rewarding your network and your sponsors, but it does nothing for your fans. And I think that's a really risky business model going forward when you have so many other things out there for people to have interest in now, not just in sports, but just in life. And I think that's the mistake that the league is making, and the mistake that, I think hockey has realized. And in this tournament that they have right now, and I'm not a hockey guy, but they've made this about their fans.
They sure
They've
did.
said this is for our fans, and
they also
they're rewarding their fans.
From
What's that?
They've also gotten help from the dictator in charge in America to really,
it would have worked.
Drive up that rivalry between Canada and the United States.
It would have worked anyways. It would have worked anyway. For their fans. I don't think a ton of non-hockey fans are tuning into this. I think you're getting some. You're probably getting.
I think they are now. I think they are now, though, which is great for hockey and great for sports in general. And I think the NBA can replicate that. Not exactly doing the same thing that hockey's doing, but if you make the game matter to the talent level that you have, because these are the best hockey players in the world playing in this tournament, it's like there was a hockey player that said, and I don't know hockey, I just know he said this, that this game against Canada was the most important game of my life. Okay, so more important, this guy played in the Stanley Cup apparently. And that's what he said. So I don't know if you can make an all-star game in the NBA be the most important game of their life, but can you make it matter? Because if you can make it matter and they're playing hard, everybody's going to tune in because the talent level is so good. I mean, even Trae Young playing hard is something to watch.
So when the All-Stars played hard?
No,
it was during the Olympics. And so
and everybody won.
So they already have this every 4 years, and the attention is on them. And I know hockey, and so I don't think you're going to replicate that. I don't think the top players are going to get motivated to play the Worlds. But I think if you throw money and you do like a little mini tournament like this, whenever there's money at the end of the rainbow, people show up.
There was a year there was a year they did it for charity, and there was a lot of money going to the charity in like the last 2 minutes of that All-Star game. That was a game that Kemba Walker was out there. He shouldn't have been playing. And then we sucked for the rest of he couldn't play for the rest of the year because I think it even went to overtime. Yeah. They were playing really hard.
Nick Nurse ran him into the ground.
Yeah, but those guys were playing really hard for the end of that game. So you're right. I think money's a natural motivator. Maybe you can do a mix of money and charity, same realm.
Well, let's talk about two guys in a team that does play hard. Tatum and Brown did play hard. I thought watching them during that All-Star game. Brown
On
actually got in.
offense, yeah, yeah,
Brown got after it on defense and caused turnovers when those younger rising stars were making a run. And they
yeah.
both had
That's right. Yeah,
moments. They both had moments where they took over the game. At one point, Brown had 8 straight. Tatum had 11 straight. So they acquitted themselves quite nicely. Um, but going forward, Mike, Justin
Tatum's the most
Turpin,
complete player in the NBA.
so, and we can well, we'll get into that. Justin
Yeah,
Turpin, who we can't thank enough for coming on from WEI and joining us. He raised an interesting point where he thinks the Celtics are going to jump off in the second half and just kind of take off and play some of their best basketball. And there's precedent for that. Last
that's
season,
good.
I think we get caught up in the whole season last season, but it was really the second half where they just destroyed people. And it wasn't until like that last week of the season where they took the foot off the gas, and they were blown out a few times before the playoffs. And so I think that's what we remember comparing to this team, and maybe that's why they're so close statistically to where they were at the All-Star break. Um, how do you see this playing out? I do want to get your thoughts on Jason Tatum, but how do you see this playing out in the second half of the Celtics, comparatively to last year, or just jumping off of what Turpin said?
I agree with Turpin. Part of the reason I agree with him is the schedule itself. They're playing a lot of good teams. And what do the Celtics do this year? They show up against people they respect. So Joel Embiid's going to play, right? We're probably going to get the best Celtics. They might be sloppy because they just had a week off in the Bahamas, wherever the hell they went. But we're going to get their best effort against Philadelphia. When they play the Knicks, they're going to be fully healthy. When we play Cleveland, they just added another guy. They're going to come up. And I think looking at the schedule, they play a lot of good teams this second half. I know they end the season with the Hornets and stuff, but I think they play the Lakers again, maybe. So yeah, I think that's part of it. And also they're 8-2 in their last 10. They seem really locked in. Tatum and Brown seem locked in at the All-Star game, if we're going to be honest. Well, what we're seeing, my feeling is it's going to be very similar to last year. Maybe not the blowouts, but the effort and the execution. I think they're going to win a lot of games, and they're going to have a shot at catching Cleveland.
So I do wonder, Brian Scalabrine, and the last game before the break mentioned that there was going to be a lot of opportunity for reserve players in the second half of the season. And I do think the Celtics have to look at recent history. In 2022-23 season, Tatum kind of wore down at the end of the playoffs. Now he got hurt with the ankle, but you could kind of feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And he played a ton of minutes during the regular season, really
Mm-hmm.
carried them when things weren't going well. Jokic last year, he definitely slowed down in the playoffs. I don't think there's any, you just have to be fair about this. There were times against Minnesota where it was a struggle for him. He was still very, very good, but I think it's fair to say he wasn't peak Jokic either in those moments. There were times he was sluggish. Tatum's playing a lot of minutes. He's played a ton of minutes recently. There's been games where he's played the entire second half. Um, I
Yeah,
think
we've
they
mentioned it.
have,
Yeah.
I think they, so I do think maybe, of course, over these first three games, we have the full strength 76ers team, despite their record. And then you have the Knicks and Cleveland. I don't know if they're in consecutive order, but all three of those games are coming up. I think you'll see some attention to detail and them playing hard and all that stuff. But I do wonder if 2, 3 weeks from now, if we start seeing them kind of manage these guys to be as rested as possible, and
Oh, I hope they do.
maybe it's not a replica of last year or this, taken off that we might expect.
I hope they do, but I also think that if Hauser's healthy, which he's looked like he might be now, that last half of that, like the last 10 games or so, um, it won't matter if you're staggering guys minutes and
And
throughout
you
the
have
year.
Torrey Craig too.
And you have Torrey Craig too. If you're
Yeah.
saying like Brown's off tonight, Tatum, you're playing, Tatum, you're off tonight, Brown, you're playing, whatever. Hauser makes such a difference when he's hitting threes. He makes such a difference. And in the regular season, the Celtics still have enough talent when they sit guys, if they're playing hard, that they're going to win. I just have a feeling that no matter what, people are sitting, guys are going to be playing hard. They seem locked in right now, and they're going to win a lot of games. Is basically what I'm saying. And I think I want them to do what you're saying, and I still think they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Like that's the best of both worlds, obviously. And I think part of reason Torrey Craig was brought in,
What's for that?
he has playoff experience, but he's going to be a minute filler, I think, from now until the end of the regular season, and
Uh-huh.
and
And they
gives
got
the
another roster
opportunities to
spot,
get.
right?
Yeah, so let's jump right in. That's a great topic. So, in the past, and I expect they're going to do this again, they have called up a two-way player. Neemias Queta did that
Yeah.
last year. They signed him
I
to
flew
an
this, yeah.
extend to the rest of the year. And Sam Hauser was a guy that they did that. They might have done it another season as well. Yeah, so I don't know. So what they've
Yeah.
done, they've kind of locked up a guy for consecutive years when they've done that.
Mhm.
So it's been a look forward. It's not really a look to the season. It's been a look forward. I don't think JD Davidson's part of their plans in the future. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're seeing something down in Maine that it's thinks he can play at this level. I'm not sure Drew Peterson's part of their plans for the
I don't think
future.
he is.
So maybe they just reward JD Davidson for being a good soldier for the rest of the season. Maybe it's not a 2-year deal, and then they
Hmm.
move on from him, and it gives them a little bit of depth at the point guard position where they probably have the least amount of depth right now.
I like that
That
too, because then you can bring another try and see with another two-way guy. Maybe they get invited to camp next year. I would like that for JD Davidson. Be great for
I
him,
don't
but
think they
also,
will do that until after the main season's over either. By the way,
yeah.
I don't even
But
think he'll get that promotion until then.
I don't know if there's a guy out there playing in Europe right now or in the G League that they want to sign to the roster for the rest, or
Well,
do
that's an
some like
option too. Yeah,
what do they call it, 10-day contracts. Try a bunch of guys out. Um,
do
see what
that.
you can find. Uh, but yeah, I mean, they're pretty healthy right now. Things are looking pretty good, and I know other NBA teams around the league are that buyout market's starting to happen. You saw that the Lakers, not the Lakers, he played for the Lakers last year. The Philadelphia just made a big pickup, right, Jim?
But Lonnie, well, yeah, they signed Lonnie Walker.
Yep.
Same type of thing, 2-year deal, so he's under team control next year.
Good move
And
for
maybe,
them.
yeah, good move for them. Um, Makes me think that they're going to try to make a play here to a playoff push.
Hmm.
Um, and they're capable of doing that. They have been awful, though, even when they've had Embiid healthy, like the games they've lost. We'll see if they get it together after the All-Star break. I mean, Paul George looks
It's
kind of
beautiful, isn't it?
incapable of being like a
Oh, great.
star anymore. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That said, and now I fully expect we're going to get the absolute best shot on tomorrow night
Yeah,
down in Philadelphia. I think we'll see their best effort, and they don't match up terribly against the Celtics. So
good.
when they're
Let's see
healthy,
it.
yeah,
I'm ready for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
And then the Cavs picked up another small forward, your boy Green.
oh,
Pelicans paid them. Yeah,
did they
Javante
pick up?
Green.
Oh, that's a pretty
Yeah,
good pickup for them. I didn't see
right
that.
before we
Yeah,
came on the pod. Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Um,
so that gives them a little bit more depth, and that
and
helps them
Bogon
out.
Bon, I can never say his name. He used to play for the Hawks.
Bojan Bogdanovic,
He's
yeah, he
just
got.
waived. He's just waived. So I'm really interested to see where that guy ends up because he'll help some. Obviously, we can't sign him. So
He doesn't play any defense, but yes, he can help somebody. So maybe
OKC doesn't really need defense.
no, yeah. Oh, he's limited on where he can go. That's a good point too. He's
Yeah.
limited on where he can go, and you brought up the Cavs, and this can get. I'm using this to get back to Tatum. We talked a lot about DeAndre Hunter. Obviously, Javante Green's brought in as a wing stopper. And all eyes. I mean, the Cavs are making
Who's he
moves.
stopping on this team? Come
Yeah,
on.
well, the Cavs are making moves with the Celtics in mind. This is what they're doing with these by signing wings and defensive-minded wings. They're doing it with the Celtics in mind. And Jaylen Brown and the person you think who's the best all-around player in the NBA right now, and Jason Tatum. Um, I need you to make that argument. I'm not sure I'm with you on that, but you can go ahead.
Oh, I just think that it's not talked about enough that it's like people are like, yeah, he's in the top 5. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. Like, I just think we're watching maybe the best player in the league. He plays the most important position. He covers all 5 positions on defense. Who else plays the small forward and you can put on centers in the playoffs and do a good job like he did in
No
the
one.
NBA
Yeah.
Finals? The way he reads double and triple teams now, uh, outside of Jokic, I don't know who else in the NBA reads the floor like Jason Tatum and passes out of those like Jason Tatum.
Shay.
Um,
SGA does.
okay,
He does.
Tatum's better.
And he's getting that type of attention too.
Yeah, Tatum's been way farther than SGA has been in his career. Tatum's been in the NBA Finals twice. He's been to the Eastern Conference Finals a billion times. 2 gold medals in the Olympics. And he does it all. He does it all. He rebounds, he passes, he scores at all 3 levels. I mean, everybody spends their time talking about SGA and Jokic and Luka. I mean, Tatum's past Luka, right? Is that even a discussion anymore? Are we really still discussing Luka being better than Tatum? Because they were on the floor together last year in the NBA Finals. And to me, it was night and day on who the more complete and better player is.
Yeah,
Like,
Luka
who's it
won.
harder the game? Who's it harder the game plan for? Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic? Who's it harder game plan? If you were going to draft a team today, who would you draft?
I'd take Tatum, but I would be afraid that I'd be making a mistake because if Luka ever commits himself, he's going to take off and be the best player, potentially in the league. Like, his talent.
I'm taking the guy who I know commits himself, has always committed himself, and who has played biggest on the biggest stages. Who's one of the most.
I would say offensively, Luke is tougher to game plan for even today than Tatum is. Tatum's a more complete player, you're right. But as you asked who's tougher to game plan for, I still think that's Luka offensively with everything he's able to do.
So if you're building an NBA franchise today, who you drafting
number 1?
Yeah, who would be a number 1 pick?
Oh, Jokic.
See, I build my team around Tatum. I absolutely build my team around. That'd be my number 1 pick.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's Jokic and everyone else in terms of player 1. I just Jokic. It's maybe we see Tatum so much and he's so wonderful, and I get it.
Tatum's going to pass Jokic this year when he wins his 2nd straight NBA title. And like, I don't think people see this enough or give him enough credit because they'll be like, "Oh, he's surrounded by more talent, this and that." Like, if Jokic was put on the Celtics, I don't know if they're that much better, and they might be a little bit worse. I think defensively, how are we matching up against other teams? It's a real question that I would have. That they like you look at the Celtics and where you can attack them defensively. It's their guards with small guards, and that's it. Because of what you can do with Jason Tatum on the defensive end of the floor. And
yeah, I think he'd figure out a way to make it work with Jokic.
And the other thing with Jokic is
like that he did win a championship. Like I get what you're saying, but he did win a championship and he was fine defensively. He's not as bad as defensively as people make him out to be either. He's fine at the rim. He can't really cover in space, but he's so big that it makes up a lot of difference. He's not terrible defensively. And offensively, he's a fucking unicorn. Like what he is the greatest post passer, greatest big passer since Larry Bird. And it's not close. Like how many 5s take the ball up the floor and make the passes he's able to make and rebound and score. And you want to talk about guys that can handle doubles and triple teams? There's no one better that I can think of in my lifetime that has done it better than Jokic.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to win another championship. I don't think he is. And I can tell you right now, I think Tatum's on a trajectory where he's going to win multiple because his position is more important. And I think the things he does on the floor are more impactful. I think he's a more impactful player than everybody in the league right now. I think he impacts the game altogether more than everybody else.
I love Tatum. I'm not on that level. I think Jokic is number 1, and then I think you get into a group of Tatum and SGA, and I put Tatum above SGA for all the reasons you said, although SGA's been better this season. As a whole, he has been the better player this season. But I think
what we missed out on, too, is the fact that Tatum got hurt in Game 7 against Miami. Because when Jokic played that Miami team in the NBA Finals, I don't even know if like Jimmy Butler was playing. Like every time Miami makes the finals, that poor franchise under
That's
Jimmy
something
Butler, nobody's available.
that rendition of the Celtics team wasn't beating that Nuggets team. What would have been interesting if that Nuggets team with Bruce Brown and the depth that they had matched up against last year's Celtics team or this year's Celtics team. But that Celtics team, there was there was something missing. It just was not right, and we watched it all throughout the playoffs. Um, they,
I just know during that 3 game winning streak, Tatum was healthy and looked like the best player in the Eastern Conference. And he got hurt really quick in that game 7. Everything fell apart. And I'm telling you, Jim, he's
but
there.
yeah, no, I
Tatum is
get you.
there. And like the discussions around the league don't. I mean, people are still saying Anthony Edwards is better. People are
Well,
still saying that,
that's stupid.
but
That
it's
to me,
happened.
that's I know that's stupid. That's a stupid
And I
discussion.
think
I don't even
Jason
put
Tatum.
Anthony
I
Edwards
think
in that discussion.
I think Jason Tatum is the Tim Duncan of our generation.
I think Kate Cunningham's going to be better than Anthony Edwards. How do you like that? I think Kate Cunningham's going to be better than Anthony
Kid
Edwards.
can ball. I mean, he's got that sorry ass team at 27 and 24. It's pretty impressive what Kate Cunningham's doing with that team.
Yeah.
I mean, like, look at how well Tim Hardaway suddenly looks as a basketball player and Malik Beasley. But back to Tatum, like, what was I saying? Yeah, he reminds me of Tim Duncan. Like, I think people look at his personality and they're like, he doesn't have like that Mamba mentality that, that like Michael Jordan mentality. He kind of just goes about his game. He does everything pretty good. Like, I think he's going to be this generation's Tim Duncan. He's going to end up with like 4 rings, and people are going to look back at it when they talk about the best small forwards of all time. And it's always going to be like, oh, yeah, Tim Duncan. Why am I not talking about him when I talk about the best power forwards to ever play? Like, Tatum's there. Like, that's the kind of talent we're looking at. And I think sometimes because he's relaxed, it plays against how good he is.
And still only 26. And he has been, especially recently. And, we talked about on the last pod where he is diagnosing things
Exactly.
quicker and faster than, he has at any point in his career. I think he's understanding defenses. Even when they confuse him early in the game, it's not something that he's laboring through for 4 quarters. He either comes out in the second quarter or halftime and makes the adjustments needed to help his team win. And what I love about what he's doing more than anything else over this stretch is he's kind of giving the team what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was game, maybe it was a Cavs game or whatever it was, where he was just being double teamed, triple teamed, and he was just making the right read all game long, the passing and getting guys in the right spot. I don't think it was the Cavs game, it might have been prior to that. And then, he comes out against the Knicks and they need him to score and they need him to attack, and he does just that. They need him to do that against Miami. He does just that. And so he shows the ability to kind of take over the game as a scorer, but he also knows that he can trust his teammates and deliver depending on the coverages he gets. So he's playing at a great, great level.
Yeah.
I think the one level I'd like to see him get a little more consistent with now, if I'm nitpicking just a little bit,
Free
would
throws.
be I'd like to see him average 9 rebounds to 10 rebounds a game in the second half of the season. I think
Uh-huh.
he's fully capable of doing that. There's games where he gets 12, 13 rebounds, and the next night it's down to 6. I
Cool.
need that number to be around 9, 10 consistently and like battling a little bit harder on that end. And that's asking a lot, but I think that's the next level for him now at 6'10, 6'11 to be around that
Yeah,
number
I think I'd
somewhere.
rather.
That's
I
where
think I'd
Bird
rather.
always was.
Yeah, I think though, like we're gonna see that when it matters most. I think that's when we're gonna see it when the playoffs hit. We're gonna. That's when like this team reminds me, like they lean on Tatum this year, kind of like they were leaning on Tatum during Ime's year. And if you look at his statistics in the playoffs that year, he blows all the other playoff years off the chart. Um, and so I think there's going to be a real need for him to rebound like that consistently in the playoffs.
But I think if you're doing that all the time, it gets easier and you're even better in those big moments. Like it just becomes ingrained in part of your game, like the passing out of double teams is now when he needs to take off and score. The one critique that people make of his game, the step back three or the off the dribble three, he's actually gotten a lot better at that. And when that's unlocked,
This year he has. Last year was
yeah,
nice. Yeah,
when
last year.
when that's unlocked, you can't cover the Celtics.
Well,
And so
that's the thing that teams have really been struggling with Boston in the playoffs last year, especially. They kept doubling, tripling Tatum in the playoffs last year, and he was just killing them. And he wasn't getting credit because the scoring numbers were down. He was killing.
and I think he's better at that now than he was even in the playoffs last year.
In the playoffs, yeah. And so, like, I honestly think like you have to cover him straight up if you want to beat the Celtics. You need a guy who's gonna give up 40 points one night and maybe the next night he holds Tatum to 15 or something. Like you need a Ray Allen to put up Kobe Bryant. Like you really need. That's how you beat Boston. I don't think double and triple and Tatum is gonna be the recipe for beating the Celtics.
No, I don't either. I think, and I think teams like the Cavs have recognized that. And I think they know they need to do such. It doesn't mean you don't trap them at all, but that's why they brought Hunter in. They know they need single coverage, and that's where the Knicks are at such a disadvantage. I guess OG Anunoby, maybe they hope can kind of do that a little bit, but you can still hunt out Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson whenever you want to. And that's where the struggle is going to be for them. And that's why I have, Tatum dunking over, Princess Achua over there behind me on the wall.
Hey, since that game, Achua's played really well, just to give him some credit. He's had like 3 straight double-doubles. And I don't want to kiss Tatum's ass over and over again, but the moments he's had, too, at such a young age, Game 6 in Milwaukee, Game 7 in the end of Game 6 against Philadelphia, like it's this year is going to be the real moment. This year, he's going to be the team carrying. He's going to be carrying this team through the NBA Finals this year.
Well, you just gave me the name of the pod. I don't want to kiss Tatum's ass is what we're going to call this. So that's Mike. I don't know. Any closing thoughts? I know we brought up other things we might want to talk about, but I don't even remember what they were. So do you got anything you want to end this with?
Just looking forward to the second half and, basketball to be a good distraction, hopefully for everybody.
Don't smoke crack. Go Celtics.
Don't smoke crack.
Yeah.